So Ferrari, unsurprisingly, are going to change their floor ahead of the Grand Prix at Suzuka. So for those that don't know, Sir Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc finished in 5th and 6th place during the Chinese Grand Prix, but both were disqualified. And in the case of Sir Lewis Hamilton, he was disqualified because his floor had worn out too much. The plank at the bottom of the car had too much wear, so therefore, unfortunately for him, he was disqualified. Charles Leclerc might well have been disqualified as well had he not been underweight in general too. So a DSQ for Ferrari. Has that ever happened before? I know it did provisionally at the 1999 Malaysian Grand Prix. But of course, they were reinstated later, totally uncontroversially. But that's a can of worms for another day. Let's not open that one now. Let's have a look to the future. Have a look to the land of the rising sun for the Japanese Grand Prix. And hopefully a new horizon, a new beginning for Ferrari when they can actually compete without getting disqualified. Let's have a look at what's been said on the F1Chronicle.com as always, guys. Ferrari will attempt to put its wobbling 2025 car and their campaign back on track in Japan. According to authoritative Italian media sources, the Maranello-based team plans to introduce a new floor to the car following a particularly up and down weekend in China. Lewis Hamilton won the Shanghai sprint from pole, but the pace then slipped away as the Formula One management director TV feed honed in on an apparent order given to the 7-time world champion to give up his position to Charles Leclerc. Team boss Frederic Vasseur called it a joke, accusing OM of deliberately omitting the part of the radio exchange that revealed how Hamilton actually suggested the swap. "We had absolutely no intention of spreading false information," a spokesperson for FOM insisted, adding that omitting the rest of the conversation was not done intentionally. Sure. Course, mate. Then, after the race, both red cars were disqualified. Leclerc's car was underweight and Hamilton's sister car was found to have an illegally worn plank. The Italian media, however, is more worried about the pace. SOS Ferrari, headlined La Repubblica. "There is no time to lose," explained journalist Alessandra Retico. "The new floor may already be in Japan." La Stampa's Jacopo D'Orsi agreed. "It seemed that Maranello has chosen the path to recovery thanks to a new floor configuration that could be introduced as early as the next race in Suzuka. Dr. Helmut Marko is refusing to write the team off. They'll sort things out," he told us to write newspaper. "I'm not writing off Ferrari just yet." La Gazzetta dello Sport's technical journalist Paolo Filicetti concurs with this. "The project is still immature, but there's potential. Developments are planned for the floor to better manage the ride heights. Another issue, apart from the disputed team order, was Hamilton and Leclerc's first collision. But Fred Vasseur is not worried about this. The collaboration between the two guys was and is great, and I can't complain for a second about that," said the Frenchman. I mean, for me, the team orders are fine, particularly if Hamilton did suggest it like he's saying. I mean, even if he didn't have a problem with it, and I agree that was the right thing to do because Leclerc was faster at that time and Hamilton was, holding him up. Hamilton was clearly struggling more on his tyres and needed to do a 2-stop race, whereas despite his front wing being damaged at the time, managed to actually, be faster and pull away from him. So I got no problem with that. Team that happen all the time. It doesn't, just because it's Ferrari doesn't mean that it has to be a headline. Yeah, I mean, the FOM thing with the radio, that was dodgy, man. I don't care what you say. That's weird. Like, why would you go doing that? That is proper media manipulation at that point, really. But yeah, I mean, look, Ferrari will get their act together. They have a fast car. They proved that in Shanghai in the sprint. They didn't look terrible in the race. They weren't great, don't get me wrong, but who was on the level of the McLarens? The McLarens, that was it. Only George Russell really got close to challenging them throughout the race. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. They clearly need a new floor because I'm sure the ride height was one of the reasons why they sucked so bad in Australia because the wet setup. And then when they're, in a dry race, right in Grand Prix distance, the car unfortunately just ran to the ground. And like I said, Leclerc might well just got disqualified for the same thing had he not been disqualified for being underweight as well. So it could well be inherent problem with the car, not necessarily with the setup, but clearly on Hamilton's car it was set up incorrectly. But can they win in Japan? I'll have to see. I'll have to see about that, guys. I'm backing them to have a better weekend. I want to see them up on the podium. I want to see them competing. If they qualify well, you know, it's a difficult track to overtake at, so you never know. Your thoughts in the comments below, though, guys. I want to hear what you have to say about this, and of course, I'll link the video going more in depth about why they were disqualified, Leclerc, Hamilton, and also Pierre Gasly as well at the end of this one if you're on YouTube. If you're on one of the other video feeds, you know, just search us up, go on the channel, subscribe, like, follow, depending on what the platform's saying. And yeah, have a great day ahead, guys. Hope you have a fantastic week, and yeah, we'll see you very soon for some more F1 news updates.